All right, so Alan, I'm so happy to be able to discover you newly with that bundle that Kevin Anderson put out on fantasy, and your story was The Wandering Warriors was the book. So we originally met back in 1997 when you had your winning story Wings about the little fairies, and that's just a real fun story, and that was great. Obviously it was great that you won back then, but you've now recently come out with Wandering Warriors, which is a collaboration with alternate history and Sidewise alumnus Rick Wilbur. So how'd you come up with that story?
Well, what happened was I was at a writer's workshop, a professional writer's workshop with Rick Wilbur, and we've both won the Sidewise Award in the past. I won it for a story called A Clash of Eagles, which actually forms the first part of my first book, A Clash of Eagles. And people were saying to us, oh, you two guys, you're both into alternate history. You should both combine your passions into a story. And this was a big joke because I am really interested in Romans and Rick is really interested in baseball. And so the idea of Roman baseball, well, that's impossible, right? And we said, we could never ever do that. And then, of course, being writers, we sat down and said, okay, so how would we actually make that work, do you think? And we tossed some ideas back and forward. And obviously the punchline here is that, yes, indeed, we did manage to make it work. And it was a cover story for Asimov's science fiction magazine, and is now a standalone book of its own from Wordfire Press, The Wandering Warriors by Alan Smale and Rick Wilbur. And it was a blast to write. We really both enjoyed doing it.
That's great. Now, you also work for NASA. Does that tie in, or how does this whole thing work with you being you're a research scientist with NASA?
Yes, I am. I'm a research scientist at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. And so people, when they hear I'm a writer, expect me to be a hard science fiction writer. And I've certainly done some of that in the past. But more recently, most of my output has been alternate history, historical fantasy, those kinds of things. And so my short fiction and my book-length fiction have all really concentrated on history. And it's a welcome break from work. It's something that's a little different. I've always been a history buff anyway, always been interested in the Romans and in the history of ancient North America and a variety of other things. And so those interests then come into play in my off hours. And it's a break from the day job.
I get that. And I'm just really excited that we were able to talk, though, and discuss alternate history as a subgenre, because that's what you've made as your writing career, as with what you write. And I know there's a lot of other people that are interested in alternate history. So this podcast interview is going to provide some very good, insightful information on what to do. And especially if somebody is a alternate history writer and enjoys singing a cappella. I'm just, I'm fascinated with, looking and finding about you. Tell me a bit about your singing a cappella.
Okay, yes, that's the third string to my bow, if you like. The two previous things we've talked about, my NASA career and my writing career, they're both very much sedentary. I'm sitting behind a laptop for a lot of the time. I am in a six-person a cappella group called the Grammatics, and we spend very little time sitting down. So it's all a cappella music, no instruments, obviously. We've been performing together. We're actually very long-lived for an a cappella group. We've been singing together for about 25 years, and we perform in a lot of museums and science venues, in fact, because one of our CDs, we have 9 CDs now, but one of our CDs is Astro Capella 2.0, which is astronomically correct a cappella. So we're singing about astronomy. Our passions have merged. And so we do a lot of performing in the area and in fact nationwide in doing educational gigs connected with astronomy and that. And we also do other festivals that have nothing to do with astronomy whatsoever, nothing to do with science, but it's just a great break. I love singing with my friends. I love singing in a variety of different venues, and it gets me up and out of my chair and to venues all across the land.
That's great, and I'm going to enjoy providing a bit of your a cappella singing right now.
Hey baby, I'm a rock in space, a tumble jumbling body in the sky. Between Jupiter and Mars I make my presence felt in a band of rocky relics called the asteroid belt. Pallas, Ceres, Vesta, and many thousand bits of rock.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and it's been great being able to speak with you. It's been a long time since we were there at Kennedy Space Center back in 1997 for that launch, and so many great writers were there with us.
I'm a rock in space, a tumble jumbling body in the sky. Between Jupiter and Mars I make my presence felt in a band of rocky relics called the asteroid belt. Palace, Sirius,